Hello, this is Lindsey Dunn here for one of my stories, and I wanted to go ahead and do a couple of reviews before the holiday season kicks in. So, the first review I have for you is Wicked for Good. This is the sequel to the first Wicked film that came out in 2024, and it follows a common and quite honestly troublesome practice that has started where everyone thinks they have to make a film into an epic event by making it into two parts. Wicked for Good is directed by John M. Chu, and it is based on the stage musical that is based on the novel by Gregory Maguire, and it has screenplay writers Winnie Holzman and Dana Fox, adding to the pre-existing bones already laid down in word and song by Stephen Schwartz. This is one film I would have been happy to leave in Kansas. Wicked for Good picks up right after Elphaba has left Oz proper to live on the outskirts of town and pursue her own path, apart from the wizard and apart from Glinda. This film arc was never meant to be split into pieces. Narratively, the first part is where all of the plot building happens. You've got the introduction, the good old days at Shiz, and the agony and pleasure of seeing Glinda and Elphaba as frenemies that become best friends. Part two is really full of the resolutions only, and there's not much entertainment, laughter, or romance that takes place that is needed to sustain a complete and satisfying story that film audiences want to see when they go to the theater. My experience in watching this part two was I was just waiting for those big musical numbers to go down. When you look at part one, it has a bunch of banger songs and lots of fun. There's the Dear Old Shiz song, The Wizard and I, What Is This Feeling, Dancing Through Life, Popular. And in part two, there's really only three good songs in that part is As Long as You're Mine, No Good Deed, and For Good. And one of those was done very poorly. That track is called As Long as You're Mine. That is supposed to come right on the heels of the reprise of the song I'm Not That Girl. The first part, Elphaba's singing it as she's realizing she'll never be the girl or thinks she won't be the girl that Fiero would ever love. He's gonna love somebody pretty like Glinda. And in this second part, Glinda realizes Fiero really loves Elphaba after all. That song happens, the reprise, and then it goes right into As Long as You're Mine, and it's supposed to be this moment of passion between Fiero and Elphaba where they can't keep their hands off of each other. But in this movie, the way it's filmed is very odd. There's a delay between the two songs as they fly in, and then Elphaba sings the entire first verse apart from Fiero and singing to herself, thinking about Fiero. And that's not what the song is about. The song is supposed to be sung to each other, and I was trying to figure out why this might be. And perhaps it's to avoid Elphaba and Fiero having to do more romantic interaction than necessary. I don't know. But the chemistry that exists in this film is between Glinda and Elphaba, not between Elphaba and Fiero. So that romantic scene, which I was looking forward to, felt rather flat. In the stage musical, it's not necessarily about them getting it on. They're just holding each other, hugging each other, kissing each other. And so the way they did it in this movie was the two of them singing separately, and then they do finally come together and they're taking off clothes. The way they did it was as if they were undressing for gym class. It wasn't anything to do with being excited about this moment. They looked like they were almost dreading it. So that scene didn't work well for me. There is a new song in this part, Girl in the Bubble, that was not an original song. And some people seem to have enjoyed that song, but I found it to be rather boring. It was trying to tell us something about Glinda, and I don't think that's what songs and musicals are for. They're to make us feel something. And I just didn't feel much about that song. It's got the same exact cast, of course, that being Ariana Grande as Glinda, and she is honestly perfect in this role. Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba, Jonathan Bailey as Fiero, Ethan Slater as Bach, Marissa Bode as Nessa Rose, Jeff Goldblum as the Wizard, and Michelle Yeoh as Madame Morrible. Now, Jeff Goldblum is charming as ever. It's also just that in this second part of the movie, all of our characters are miserable. Nobody is having a good time. So it's hard for us to have a good time. And in a musical, you need those waves, those ups and downs. You need moments of levity. I think it would have been better if this film had been released as one entity and they could have cut some of the fluff out of it. They built up these characters and these situations that just did not play out naturally in part two. It felt like the emotions that they were able to invoke didn't really pan out. I think the only emotion that stayed true is the friendship feeling between Elphaba and Glinda. Everyone who feels strongly about seeing this movie is going to go see it. You don't need my opinion about that. If you're not that invested, you can wait and watch this at home, or you can even skip it and go see the musical on stage instead, because it's the exact same story. So it's really about who you feel give the best performances. And while I enjoyed the first Wicked movie, this one did not do it for me at all. It's been in theaters since November 21st. It's made a ton of money at the box office. If you want to go see this with your family for the holidays, by all means, go do it. But I've seen the songs perform better, and I've seen actors that bring out the emotions in this experience better than I did in this part two. Moving on to Running Man. This is directed by Edgar Wright, who's directed such films as Shaun of the Dead, Baby Driver, and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. And it's based on a novel by Stephen King, and the screenplay is done by Edgar Wright and his frequent collaborator Michael Bacall. In this movie, Ben Richards decides to enter the Running Man challenge because his family can't afford the medicine he needs for his little girl. He goes through the qualifiers and, to no one's surprise, makes it. Because, of course, once you say, I'm going to go out for any game but the Running Man, you're going to end up in the Running Man. So the story follows Ben as he tries to survive 30 days without being caught or killed by these paid hunters. And any citizen can also catch him for a financial bonus. Unlike Wicked, I was hyped to see The Running Man. I've never seen the original film, but it's a cult classic for its campy, futuristic vibes, or at least what futuristic used to look like in 1987. Plus, the name Edgar Wright has come to mean action scenes that are lively, fun, and memorable. I came in expecting a lively, raucous good time. The Running Man had some of that, but those moments felt few and far between and quickly disappear. A highlight in this aspect was Michael Cera, who plays Elton, a prepper who decides to help Ben. Michael Cera's scenes are funny, heartfelt, and would fit into the kind of movie I was imagining. I was super sad when his character left the narrative. But then again, he's someone that's worked with Edgar Wright so many times. He knows exactly what Edgar Wright wants, and Edgar Wright knows how to pull it out of him. I think the problem here was really about my expectations. This was a critic screening I got to attend, and the friend that I invited to this movie, I invited because I felt that she would be drawn to fun action flicks, and that's what I expected. And also because Edgar Wright, his name comes with expectations that you're going to get a certain type of movie. And while his films have always had an underbelly of social commentary, mostly it's known for just being a good time. Just think of Shaun of the Dead. This is a film about lovable losers that somehow become people able to survive a zombie apocalypse. Baby Driver became known as an action film so well choreographed that it was dubbed a musical for how it would cut the action to the music. When they released this trailer, The trailer was so lively, so fun, and it was cut to this mix of the song Underdog by Sly and the Family Stone. So you're picturing in your head there's going to be all this action and it's going to be fun and energetic and it's never going to quit. But the film that we got was more weighty, serious. It tonally threw me off. It could have been more fun, but there was more tragedy and not enough sticking it to the man. The level of deaths and suffering that take place and that we see gave it more the feeling of the Hunger Games, with Ben Richards being a reluctant Katniss Everdeen. As he's on the run, he connects with different people in the lower class mostly and gets to learn more about what other people have been dealing with. Yes, his family has been dealing with tragedy, but as he connects to other people in society, his anger only grows because he sees how other people are suffering, and that causes him to become more empathetic and socially conscious and maybe want to be the symbol of the rebellion that he wasn't interested in being before. He really just wanted to get enough money so he could buy his little girl medicine. Full stop. He wasn't out to be the people's hero. I think back in 1987, the story felt fresh and edgy. But these days, with the amount of Black Mirror we've swallowed and all the fears about surveillance and lack of privacy, this doesn't feel like a novel or original dystopia. It feels too real and not that funny or exciting. But if you're interested in these dystopias, or you just want to see it because it's a Stephen King adaptation, or you love Glenn Powell, those are good reasons to see it. But I don't think you need to see it in a theater. You can wait for it to be in streaming. By the way, another good in this movie that stood out was Coleman Domingo as the game master host. And Glenn Powell, the man's a star. So he's fine. He's good in this role. I think there was a little bit of confusion about what kind of performance Edgar Wright wanted him to give. So I'm not sure what happened there. They were trying to play to his strengths. There's a scene where he's going to go get a shower and he's climbing around a building in a towel, and it was obviously fan service just so people could look at Glenn Powell's sweaty body for a little bit. Sometimes the idea that you have an actor that's considered attractive, that can be a little bit of a hazard because there's people that are focused on that aspect instead of the story you're trying to tell. Glenn Powell is one of those personalities that's very magnetic, but when you see him, you tend to picture a certain type of character. So, him being the people's man and then trying to become this symbol of the rebellion and at the same time keep his edgy bad boy vibes. Just it was just a mixture, a chemical mixture that just didn't quite land for me. This has been in theaters since November 12th. I don't think it's going to last much longer. Probably by the end of November, it's going to be out of theaters. So this should be on streaming soon. Thank you for joining me for these two reviews on the One of My Stories podcast. If you want a good movie to see in theaters right now, go see Predator Badlands before it leaves, or One Battle After Another before it leaves theaters, because that one may soon be going away, and it is one of the best movies of the year. So those are my two recommendations for you. Wicked for Good might be a good holiday movie to see with the family. If you want a good film, don't go see either one of these movies. Thank you and have a happy Thanksgiving.